Breaking news! There's a storm brewing in Miami, and it's not just the weather. The 2025 season is shaping up to be the most pivotal year in recent history for the Dolphins, and all eyes are on one man, Tua Tagovailoa. But here's the thing. While the headlines are screaming about his massive contract and injury history, what's happening behind the scenes paints a much more chaotic and high-stakes picture. The kind of picture that makes, or breaks, careers. What if I told you there are signs that the Dolphins front office has already begun to prepare for life after Tua? What if I told you that the pressure on Mike McDaniel is quietly reaching a breaking point? I have a lot to get through to you today. But before we dive headfirst into the fire, be sure to like this post if you followed the Dolphins through their ups and downs. If you've been a fan for 20 plus years, leave a comment saying, "Go Dolphins!" Let's get to the story behind the story. Tua Tagovailoa is arguably the most polarizing figure in the NFL today, especially within our own fan base. Half of the fans want him gone, the other half believe he's the man to lead this team to the promised land. The Dolphins just gave him a massive 4-year, $212.4 million extension, kicking in this season with an average annual value of $53.1 million. That deal practically locks Tua in through 2026. But here's the catch. There's an out after the 2026 season with a manageable dead cap hit. So while he's ours for at least the next 2 years, after that, all bets are off. The biggest issue? Availability. Tua has only played all 17 games once in the last 4 seasons. That's unacceptable for a franchise quarterback, especially in today's NFL where QBs are the most protected players on the field. He's not a bruiser like Lamar Jackson or Anthony Richardson. Tua isn't lowering his shoulder into defenders. So why is he constantly missing time? 4 games here, 6 games there. That simply cannot happen, not when you're being paid $53 million a year. But here's where it gets wild. When Tua is on the field, this offense lights up. The Dolphins, under Mike McDaniel with Tua at the helm from 2022 to 2024, ranked 3rd in EPA per dropback, 3rd in pass touchdowns per attempt, 2nd in yards per attempt, and 4th in completion percentage. But take Tua out of the equation, the offense completely collapses, dead last in EPA per dropback, bottom 3 in pass TDs per attempt, bottom 10 in yards per attempt, and bottom 5 in completion percentage. Now, you could blame the lack of quality backups. Skylar Thompson, Tim Boyle, Tyler Huntley aren't exactly the saviors of South Florida, but the real story is that Mike McDaniel's offensive system is not easy. It demands accuracy, timing, quick decision-making, and anticipation. Tua, for all his faults, does those things exceptionally well. He might not be Mahomes or Allen, but when he's on the field, he executes the McDaniel system at a high level. Since Tua became the starter, the Dolphins are 40-24, a 62.5% win rate. When he doesn't play, they're 7-13. That's a 35% win rate. These aren't just numbers, they're statements. The team sinks or swims with Tua. And this year, it's do or die. If Tua doesn't stay healthy and produce in 2025, the Dolphins will look for a new quarterback. It's not even up for debate. This is the most important season of his career. Playing all 17 games is the bare minimum. He could throw 40 touchdowns and have an MVP season in 14 games, and I still wouldn't care. He needs to play every snap. Because the truth is, the moment the organization and fans stop believing he can stay healthy, they'll start looking for the next guy. The other major benchmark? Playoffs. It's been 25 years since the Dolphins last won a playoff game. Let that sink in. 25 years. Mike McDaniel missed the postseason for the first time last season, and that was because Tua was injured. This year's schedule starts off light. First 6 games include beatable teams like Carolina and Cleveland, and manageable matchups with Buffalo and New York. If the Dolphins go 6-2 to start the season, they should only need to go 4-5 over the back half to make the playoffs. And it's possible. Games against the Jets, Saints, Steelers, it's all within reach. Tua just has to stay upright, because if he does, the Dolphins will have a top-half offense. The defense? It may not be elite, but it'll hover around average, potentially between 15 and 20 league-wide. But again, it all falls on Tua's shoulders. And it sucks. It really does. But that's the nature of being QB1 in the NFL. If Josh Allen misses 6 games, Buffalo's screwed. Same for Mahomes in Kansas City, Lamar in Baltimore. It's no different here. Tua needs to be on that field every week, no exceptions. And here's the kicker. If Tua plays all 17 and still doesn't get the Dolphins to the postseason, we might still be talking about replacing him. This fan base is tired. The playoff drought is a stain that only a postseason victory can clean. A wild card road win in a hostile environment, Baltimore, Buffalo, Cincy, even Houston, would be a game changer for how we view Tua. Everything, the missed time, the injuries, would start to fade. But if those milestones aren't met, if he plays just 14 games, or if he plays all 17 but the team misses the playoffs, the writing will be on the wall. The front office will begin making calls. So here's the question I leave you with for now. Do you believe Tua will meet those expectations this season and finally become the quarterback the Dolphins can trust for the long haul? Let me know in the comments, because here's where it gets even more complicated. If you're still with me, you already know the stakes. Tua Tagovailoa must hit at least 2 of 3 key benchmarks this season to solidify his future in Miami, play all 17 games, get the Dolphins back to the playoffs, and, most importantly, win a playoff game. And let me be clear, 2 out of 3. Not 1. Not a good effort. This isn't horseshoes. It's the NFL, and it's about results. Let's say he plays all 17 games but fails to reach the playoffs. Does that save his job? Probably not. It might buy him another year under center, but it would signal the start of a serious hunt behind the scenes for a long-term replacement. McDaniel might say the right things in public, but the wheels will be turning in private. They'll explore every option, draft picks, trades, free agents, because the front office knows what most fans are too tired to repeat. You don't win in this league without a quarterback who can carry the weight. And that's what brings us back to Chris Grier. The man has hung his future, his legacy, if we can even call it that, on Tua. Yet he's failed time and time again to provide this team with a reliable backup or even a competent insurance policy. That's not just a mistake, it's a pattern. This isn't about hoping Tua stays healthy anymore. It's about knowing that he probably won't, and building anyway. And Grier hasn't done that. In fact, he's left McDaniel and this offense exposed season after season. Let's take a hard look at Tua's durability. He's missed 20 games since becoming a starter. That's 20 weeks where the Dolphins had to pivot, shuffle, or outright panic. No other team with playoff aspirations has been this vulnerable at the most important position. You want to blame Tua for that? Go ahead. But remember, the architect of this flawed foundation is Chris Grier, who continues to escape the consequences of his own decisions. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Even if Tua plays well, even if he performs, the long-term trust just isn't there. This season is his audition, not just for the Dolphins, but for the entire NFL. Because if Miami cuts bait after 2026, someone else will take a shot on him. But it won't be with the kind of commitment he just got. He's got one chance to be a franchise QB in this league, and this is it. The fan base is split for a reason. Some see the precision passing, the chemistry with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, the flashes of brilliance in McDaniel's system. Others see a quarterback one hit away from IR, a guy who hasn't played in cold weather games without concern, someone who can't shake the stigma of being fragile. And honestly, both sides have a point. That's what makes this so divisive. It's not black and white. But let's talk about upside for a second. If Tua does pull it off, if he stays healthy, leads the team to a playoff berth, and breaks the 25-year curse, he becomes a legend in Miami overnight. That's not exaggeration. That's history. We're talking about wiping away a generation of frustration in a single postseason win. For fans who've stuck through the dark years, the carousel of quarterbacks, the blown drafts and missed chances, that would be vindication. He has the weapons. Tyreek is still a game breaker. Waddle could torch any secondary. Devin Achane adds explosiveness out of the backfield. And with McDaniel calling plays, this offense has the tools to compete with anyone. But the only one who can keep it all together is Tua. That's the weight he carries. That's why this conversation matters. Because it's not just about making the playoffs. It's about erasing doubt, winning back trust, turning those empty seats at Hard Rock Stadium into a fortress again. If Tua does it, he's not just saving his job, he's saving an era that's dangerously close to collapsing under the pressure of what-ifs and almosts.